My name is Jerry Vistai, and I'm founder of the Coyote Center for Carnivore Ecology and Coexistence. And welcome to all of you who are coming. We're very excited about this webinar. And so we're pleased that Jim Boutin and Jennifer Rosado are going to join us tonight and share with us some of their exciting research on our Maine wild Canis. Just give a couple minutes here for everyone to come in, at least most of you, and then we'll get started because there's so much to share and we don't want to miss any of it at all. Okay, so in a minute or so, then less than a minute or so, I will introduce Jim and Jennifer, and at the end of our the presentation, we will have a question and answer, but we'll also have a sharing. So you've had experience that you would like to share with others, have not been able to, feel free to share that. That's a whole part of the community that we are really working to create more and more. So, and that we ask you that the chat box is quiet during their talk. And that you can start doing your thing as soon as it's over. And Nola will be our technical person who we just love, and she will be overseeing those questions too. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Jim and Jennifer. So Jim Boutin is a lifelong Mainer. And he's been a wildlife photographer for more than 20 years. And then he transitioned to cinematography in 2012. He's currently working with partners on a film exploring climate change and other factors on the vitality of our New England moose population. He has had a long career in the television industry, working with broadcast stations, and as well as having an electrical engineering degree from the University of Maine. He serves on the board of directors of the Maine Film Association. So as you can observe, that all these experiences that Jim has had throughout his life has actually prepared him excellently to be a citizen scientist. And welcome, Jim. We're so pleased you are here. And then Jennifer Rosado. Jennifer grew up in Gainesville, Florida, graduated from Stetson University with a degree in biology, and then later received her master's at the University of Southern Maine in applied science. She currently is a teacher of science and math to 8th graders in Buckfield Junior Senior High right here in Maine. Jennifer and her husband spent plenty of time in our Maine woods with their 3 pups. So without further ado, you're on, Jim and Jennifer.
What I said was basically, Jerry, thank you for the kind introduction. As an organization, Maine Howls has been a little bit behind the scenes, kind of working on our project, and it's good to get out in front of everybody and kind of talk about the things that we're working on and that we're finding, and it's a lot of interesting things going on in the Canis world up here in Maine. So what are we doing? So we formed in the late part of 2023 as a kind of an unorganized group. We were all part of another organization that was a little bit more politically oriented. And all of us just really wanted to do the science and really try to figure out what's going on. So we formed this little organization. And our goal is really about trying to document as much as we can about Maine canids, to offer up research materials for kind of future study here in the state of Maine. We know that there's lots of interesting things that are going on, and we wanted to try to get it the best handle that we could. So we're using visual mechanisms, trail cameras, we're recording sound, which we're going to talk about in kind of some depth tonight, and also DNA to really kind of understand what's happening in the canid world. And all of that is really going into very careful and accurate documentation. As Jerry said, I'm an engineer, and so as all of my fellow volunteers know, I'm really really kind of careful about making sure that everything gets documented and we know exactly what we're doing, when it happened, and all of that sort of stuff. There's 5 of us currently working on this project, and we're all self-funding it at the moment. We don't have a 501c3 yet, and so we're kind of doing this all ourselves. So who are we? Well, you got an intro for Jennifer. She's a science teacher. We also have a large landowner that owns over 100 acres and is a disabled vet who's passionate about this and has been working hard as part of the team. We have a retired lobster fisherman who kind of got involved with us because he had this history of seeing coyote kind of going between islands when he was out fishing, and is real curious about what's going on this island that he lives on. So really kind of an interesting story, and we're learning lots of interesting things about that world. We also have a PhD expert in coyotes that's kind of our advisor and is very involved with the analysis that we're doing, and then me at the end. So what kind of technology are we using? So I'm going to talk a little bit about autonomous recording units, or ARUs as they're called kind of in the industry. And what is an ARU? It's basically a field recorder that goes up on trees in various places and just sits there, and we program it and schedule it, and it records all day long at what's happening out there in the world. And you're going to hear some of the cool things that we're picking up on. We also use just plain old standard trail cameras. We have quite a few in the field. Camera traps, which I'll talk about a little bit, but those are more high-end video recorders that we use for filmmaking and so forth, because certainly in the back of my mind, I want to do some stories about what's going on in the coyote world. DNA analysis is being done with partners, Michigan Tech University and Princeton, and they're providing the capabilities to do DNA analysis. And again, I'll talk about this all in more detail. And then finally, AI. Everybody's talking about AI, so we have to talk about AI. But because of the quantity of data that we get, we're really working on trying to come up with some solutions that really help the analysis part. So this is a autonomous recording unit. This is called an audio moth. It was invented by a person in the UK who's an academic, and it's really kind of this really cool open source tool. You can make them yourself if you want, but they are available to buy, and they're use everything from bat language to our bat conversations and bat homing to bird calls to mammals, and they're being used all over the world. They're an incredibly important device, and if you're interested in what's happening, it's called Open Acoustic Devices is the company that sponsors this. And so some of the specs, they're a self-contained unit. They're about the size of a credit card. They run on 3 AA batteries, and depending on what kind of batteries we put in there and what kind of programming we do, they'll run from anywhere from 40 days to 180 days. But they're scheduled sound recording, so we don't continually record 24/7. If we did, they wouldn't last very long. They'd burn the batteries up, and we'd fill the cards up. So what we do is actually we schedule them out, and since we've been doing this for a while, we kind of understand when, and I'm going to show you some graphs in a bit, as to when these calls really happen, and try to minimize maximize our battery life and minimize our card usage. Cost about $145 a piece. We've also been experimenting with making them better, and the big thing for us is figuring out ways so we can overwinter these ARUs. We have a number of sites that we just can't get access to, even with snowmobiles. So we've figured out ways to get extra batteries in there. We've even experimented this year with solar power, and we'll see as soon as mudding season is over what exactly the results were in these particular locations. We're also experimenting with our own versions of these ARUs, and we haven't finished this to actually use it, but this is a design I've been working on, and we want to, because we have some custom things we want to do with it, we're kind of working on our own plan. Like I mentioned, trail cameras, we have well over 20, I think it's more like 30 trail cameras at all of the locations that we watch. And it's a very important tool for us to actually, obviously, physically see what the animals that we're studying look like. And this is a camera trap. This is one of my camera traps. I have a number of them, and I just want to put it up for reference, but this is a high resolution DSLR camera that sits in a box and records the activity that's in front of it. And then the other leg of the stool for us is DNA collection. Pardon the image, but that is what we do. And like I said, we're working with Michigan Tech University. We've developed protocols with them to properly sample the scat from these sites. And the whole idea behind this is we know the locations, we know what the animal looks like, or the group of the animals look like, we know what they sound like. So can we get DNA and really understand exactly what this animal is? And what you're going to hear when I play some of the sound for you is an incredible wide range of sounds that sound like a pack of wolves to a pack of coyotes to domestic dogs. And so what we're trying to figure out is what exactly are these animals and what are they becoming here? So we have 18 samples right now from 5 sites in analysis. We should see the first results here in the next couple of weeks. One of the things that if you followed Northeast wolf studies, the big thing is really for the DNA folks to figure out a panel. And what that means is they use statistics to really understand what kinds of mixes these animals are. And there's been a lot of controversy and energy around really trying to understand what a percentage of coyote means, what a percentage of wolf means. Is it an Eastern wolf? Is it a gray wolf? Is it a domestic dog? And so a lot of work is being done on that right now. And we're going to get our first group of results back here in just a couple of weeks. So sound analysis. So how do we find these target sounds? When we put a recorder out, we get something like 22,000 files back on an SD card. It just sits there and records about, usually what we do is 50 seconds every minute, every record, and we just do that on an ongoing basis. So when we get these cards in and to analyze them, we get upwards of about 300 hours per session. So I don't know about you, but I don't want to listen to the woods for 300 hours. I love the woods, but there's no way that we could pick those sounds out. So we have a technique called a spectrogram that we use to find the calls in there. And it's basically like a fingerprint for sound, if you will. And it plots the frequency of the call against time. And we use this technology called Raven Light, which Cornell Labs did really for bird study, and we're leveraging it for what we're doing. So this is a spectrogram. This is what it looks like, and this is a Eastern Coyote call that you're seeing. And on the vertical side is basically frequency. On the horizontal side is time. And then these are called harmonics. So every call has kind of a base frequency, and then every multiple of that base frequency shows up as these harmonics. And so we can just look at these spectrograms very quickly and look for this kind of pattern. And if we see it, we stop, we listen to it, and we catalog it. If we don't, then we just keep going. So it allows a pretty quick is relative. It takes probably to do 22,000 clips. It would take me about 5 or 6 hours to do that myself. But what we have been doing, and we've had some success with, is to use AI to actually pick out the calls. And so we have a system right here. It's right to my left, that kind of goes through and does exactly what I do, except it does it in software. What we're finding is it's not incredibly accurate, and it has a lot of false positives. So we kind of use that to pre-select all of the files. So basically, from the 22,000 files that I get when I get a card from the field folks, we get that down to a couple thousand files, and then I do manual review, and out of that, on average, we get about 20 positives. So it's a huge time saver for me, and allows me to, really just spend an hour or two doing the analysis. Excuse me. But it needs more work. Eventually, we'd love to have AI just really do all the work and spit out all of the calls, but we're not there yet, and it's still going to take a lot more work to get to that point. So let's listen to what some of the things that we've found. So what I'm going to show you here is basically a sound file, and then on top of it, you're going to see the spectrogram that this particular call produced. So here's the first one. So the part I didn't mention is that the blackness of the line is how loud it is. So you can kind of see how the frequencies kind of get made up, and you're going to see the difference now when you start to listen to a howl and a bark. And so I'm going to show you kind of some of the variances that we're experiencing. So this particular animal kind of gives us a bark at the end like a dog. And a woof at the end. And then here's another version that's just almost pure barking. And another version. So just like any other family group, we have a little bit of a dominance display. We were really fortunate. Jennifer found a site that we had, it was basically a rendezvous location. And we just got spectacular coverage of a whole family, including pups and so forth. And so the first piece I'm going to play you is kind of a dominance display that we caught on an ARU, and then I'm going to play you some family conversations. Sounds terrible, but they worked it out, I'm sure. So this series that I'm going to play for you now features the pups, and you're going to hear them. They obviously have a really squeaky bark, and typically what we observe is that these kind of group gatherings start with one animal that lets out a howl or sometimes a yip, and then it gets the whole group going, and it's pretty entertaining and interesting to listen to. So I'm going to play it for you. Pretty vocal group. And what you heard in there also was what we call yip yap, which is kind of what a lot of people think of of typical coyote behavior. And so you heard that in this group, and you're going to hear this in some of the other recordings that I'm going to play back. So this is another similar one. Now in this one, if you can hear a response back that wasn't local. And the part that's great about this one is the puppies just keep on going. The adults are like, okay, yeah, that's enough. But the pups keep on going. And they finally end with a little howl. So the other thing I wanted to kind of show you guys, there's lots of interesting things. We got a lot of barred owls in the woods, and what you're going to see the spectrogram for the barred owl, and you'll see how similar it is. And this is kind of some of the challenges that we're having with AI, really training AI. Even I have done this so much, I still don't necessarily always recognize the barred owls, especially, you know, when they do certain calls. So you're going to see the spectrogram, and you'll kind of understand the challenge in really kind of decoding these. And our friend the fox. But as you can see, it's a very, very different image that fox makes with its screeches. So I wanted to talk a little bit about this. I have a couple of clips that are very interesting. So there's a number of reasons that these animals talk to each other. Some of them is, you know, just bonding and social. But there's also some utility to it, and what you're going to hear in this one, and you have to listen kind of carefully, and you can sort of see it in the sonogram that there's some weak calls in there, and this is a group that's conversing with somebody very far away. Somebody far away made a call, and the group responds, and they went back and they talked back and forth. So let me play this for you. And wonder what they say to each other. We have no idea. There's an interesting study going on right now in Yellowstone with an organization called Cry Wolf, and they've done some mentoring for us, and they've been a great resource for us to kind of understand and learn some of these techniques. And they have a PhD linguist who is actually trying to figure out what the wolves are saying to each other. So it's a really interesting study, and I think we're going to see some interesting stuff come out of that at some point. But here's another distant call and a response. Before we get off this, I want to point something out, and I'll show you another slide that indicates this. But if you look at the kind of the weak distant calls versus the local calls, there's something very noticeable about that, and that is particularly the one on the right, just to the right of the red cursor. You'll you'll notice that the high frequencies kind of fade out, and what you end up hearing and what carries are the really low frequency calls and the howls. And this has been an observation of ours that I'm sure that one of the reasons that these animals have developed howls is they really carry far in the woods, and so that's part of their trick and how they converse these very long distances. And the more that the leaves are out and all that stuff, it attenuates those frequencies, those higher frequencies, and all you see is eventually is kind of the bottom part of their calls. And there's that yip yap. So this one also, and that's that spooky sound you hear in the woods that I love to hear. We've also learned that the yip yap and the barks just don't carry like the howls do. And one more version, and this one I really cranked up the sensitivity. And who knows what they're saying to each other. And so this is a bit of a conversation and an enhancement when you see the kind of hole in the middle. And the puppies decided they had something to say. So the next quick series here are some calls that this is actually Jennifer's work that we actually got them on video with trail cameras, so you can actually see some of the behavior. So I'm going to roll through those. Yeah, so who knows what happened in that clip, but they called and the animal moved in that direction. So they might have said, "Hey, come hither, we found something." Who knows what they said. This one's pretty interesting because he's just kind of sniffing around, and all of a sudden here's a call and startles. So as I said jokingly to Jerry, I think the wife called and said it's time for dinner. And here's one in the background, same animal. And this was a little quiet conversation going on between these two. Not to be outdone, I barked back. Oops. So just to kind of, pull the numbers together and kind of give you guys a sense of what we're finding in the field. So our first real recording was done in January 2023. So we've been at this for basically three years. We have 45 individual sites that we've studied. Kind of some of those sites are obviously grouped in the same area, because we have 7 areas around the state that we have studied, and we're doing that with four field volunteers basically. So we have 10 autonomous recording ARUs out there in the field. 7 are just the basic versions that I showed you, and 3 are modified versions. And so we've done 78 sessions, and a session is basically we put the unit out and we let it sit for 30 days to 180 days. And out of that, we have 1,045 files with calls. So we have pretty significant amount. I'm just showing you a very tiny amount of what we actually have. For ARU locations, I mean, we don't publish the locations that we study, but just to kind of give everybody a sort of sense of the areas, everything from York County, Maine to out in Penn Bay. We have a couple of sites that we've studied in the western part of the state, and then 3 sites that we're currently studying that are up in Aroostook County area. So just some other quick statistics. So these are, if you look at all 1,000 files that we have, what time of day do they appear? And as you would expect, most of the activity is during the evening part of the hours, and we see kind of an uptick. We see an uptick just before morning light and just after dusk is kind of what we see. And this is a bit biased because we don't typically record during the day because there's just so little activity during the day. We just don't try to record that. It would just waste space and batteries. This is the one that I find the most interesting. So we're coming up on April and May that we get very, very little calls. We have just very few. And if you think about it, this is denning season. So the last thing they want to do is to identify where the pups are. They're all really kind of making sure that the pups and the mom are being fed. And so there's little howling activity. And then when the pups are mobile and in the fall, starting in September, October, that's where we see the most activity. And this is not biased because we do record 12 months of the year. And just to kind of give you a sense of our sites, we have we have a couple of sites that are just fantastic. One of Jennifer's sites always gives us at least 30 howl hits. So that kind of just gives you a sense of some sites do really well and some sites don't do so well. So at this point, Jennifer, I'm going to turn this over to you to talk about trail cameras.
Awesome. Thank you, Jim, and glad to have everybody here. All right, so today I'm going to talk to you about the trail cameras that we have set up and why we have these trail cameras spread all over the state of Maine. Go ahead, Jim.
Oops.
All right, so first of all, what is it we're looking for with these trail cameras? There's a few things that we really are trying to study about these animals. The first is the physical characteristics, the family structure, behavior, and of course, we're always looking for a good location to put our audio moths. And then lastly, we're also trying to tell a story about these animals and try and make people aware by posting videos and by sharing pictures so that people will come to understand them and start to make connections with them. One thing I want to talk about, physical characteristics. Go ahead and go to the next slide, please, Jim. So when we look at physical characteristics, what I'm talking about is noticeable deformities, the size of the animal, the colors of their coat, any disabilities that they might have, maybe the fact that they have dew claws, the size of their paws, how far apart their ears are, which is a good indicator of the size of their skull. So if we look at this picture here, this is Tatters, and she is a female Maine Coyote, and she is one of the breeding pair of her packs. And you'll notice that this animal has some unique features. This animal has not had it easy. She's missing one of her ears. She also on one side of her mouth, she's missing most of her teeth, and she has a malformed jaw, which I believe is from she was probably injured and it didn't heal properly. So when she moves her jaw, it's not natural looking at all. So she's got a lot going on with her. So she was an animal of great interest just because she stood out. But I think the biggest reason why I was fascinated with this animal was I actually had a close encounter with her. I had set up a camera in a very remote site in Maine, and all of my cameras are on very remote sites. And I had gone back to check the camera a couple months, and this was the first time I'd been back there. And I had my dog with me, and we got out of the car. We were on a logging road, and we were going to go check the camera. But the first thing I did was we were walking up and down this logging road, me and my dog Danny, and we noticed this dog standing in the middle of the road, maybe 30 feet ahead of us, and she was just watching us. My dog Danny wanted to go play. She was wagging her tail. She thought, oh, well, this is great. The coyote took off, and I called Danny, and we headed back to the car. And then we went in the opposite direction to check my camera and make sure everything was set properly, change the batteries, put a new disc in, and then we came back out to the car. And this animal, who I called Tatters, was standing 10 feet in front of the car. She'd come back. At that point, I was getting a little worried because I didn't want her and Danny to interact with each other. Luckily, Danny listens very well, and I opened the back of my car using the fob, and she jumped right in, and I closed it, and then I just got right in my car and left. And the coyote just stood there and looked at me. She didn't growl. She didn't bark. She didn't lunge at us. She didn't charge us. She just watched us leave. And it was interesting because I was like, wow, I wonder what she was doing. I didn't understand why she stood there. I would have thought she would have run away. And it wasn't until I checked the video that I found out why she was so interested in what we were doing. So we're going to play a video in just a second, and I want you to pay attention to the characteristics of the animals that you see in this video. And it will answer the question as to why she was so curious about us and making sure that we left. Jim? So these are the breeding pair. One of them is Tatters, the one on the right. She's nursing at this point. And here is their little family. Notice the variation in colors of these pups. And that's Papa calling to his little pack. Okay, next slide, please. Jim, next slide.
There we go.
All right. So the other thing that we look at when we're watching these animals on camera, is we also look at pack structure. So we look at their physical characteristics and we look at their pack structure. Now, a lot of you might be wondering, well, how can you really understand these animals if you're just taking these quick videos? It's important to understand that these cameras, we've had these cameras deployed for years. So these packs that we're watching, we've been observing them since 2022. So we've been seeing these animals over and over again on very short clips, but for a very long period of time. And we've been able to put together a lot of information and understand the way that they live. So this next pack, what's really interesting about it is the structure of the pack. It's large. It has 9 to 10 members. And it not only has the breeding male and female, but it also has a number of older pups from 2023 and 2024, in addition to 2025. So we have a multi-generational puppy population within this pack, in addition to the 2 breeding pairs. The other thing that's really interesting about this pack is the size of the animals. Next slide, please. So this particular pack has a breeding male that is a little bit, well, I'm not gonna say a little bit, he's larger than the other animals that we see. And we use a lot of different things to help us estimate the height of these animals. We use meter sticks or yardsticks placed in the camera frame so that we can compare these animals as they move through. We also mark the trees every foot or so that we can get an idea of how big these animals are as they move through the frame. And we also compare them to known heights of things such as people, our pets, or to even other Eastern Coyotes. So if you look at this picture here, you're going to notice there's 3 animals. All 3 animals are in about the same location. You'll notice that there is on the left, pretty much left side or center, there is a yellow birch tree, and it has a branch that's sticking out of the bottom. That is the same tree in each of those 3 pictures. These 3 pictures were taken within 4 weeks of each other. You'll notice the one on the far left is what I would think of as a typical Maine Coyote, as far as in size. And then the middle picture is my 85-pound German Shepherd, and the right is a very robust Maine Coyote. Other things you might want to look at is notice the difference in the size of the nose pad between the Eastern Coyote on the left and the larger one on the right. The one on the right has a much larger nose pad. Even looking at the coyote on the right, compare his legs to the legs of my German Shepherd, and you can see how thick they are. So he's obviously a pretty large animal compared to what you would normally expect to see in the forests of Maine. Okay, next picture, please. Here is just sort of a visual of how we use the yardsticks. You can see I sort of highlighted with Sharpies every 6 inches. So we can compare this to a frame where we have a still shot of animals, or even using a video, we can get a pretty good estimate on how tall these animals are. Next. And this is a really cool video. You'll notice the coyote coming in behind me. So this was sort of 2 films overlaid on each other, and you can get an idea of how big this animal is compared to me. So those are some of the techniques that we use to sort of gauge height. So this pack we're going to look at, this is the one I was talking about. It's probably the most interesting pack that I've seen. I have been observing this pack for almost 4 years now. And this picture of this animal, this is the breeding male. And it's just, the animals in it are a mix of animals that are, pretty Maine Coyote looking, and others that have a much more blended look, sort of a blended between an Eastern wolf and an Eastern Coyote. So if you could play this, please. So as you watch this video, just notice some of the interactions of the animals, the size of the paws, how these animals tend to be more in packs, and some of the things that really stand out to me is the size of the paws of these animals. This is the female. In this clip, you can really see how far apart the ears are on this male, which is a really good indicator of the size of his skull. Notice how the ears are more on the side of his head instead of on top of it. And these are just a few members of his pack. Another really interesting fact about this pack is their territory, which is approximately 50 square miles, which is quite large for coyotes. One nice thing about these videos is they really show these guys' lives. It makes it real for us. This is one of the adult pups. This was a 2023 pup. He's quite large. He's a beautiful animal. And this is the breeding male. You can notice the size of his paws as he moves in the background. They almost look like little paddles. All right, just a couple of other things that we like to look at is interesting behavior. One really interesting thing with this group, this is Prince and Popper. Prince is the animal to the closest. He is a recent mate to Popper. He is a male, and he came into the picture after a previous male mate had died, but it had been after breeding season. And so when the pups were born, those puppies were not his, and yet he helped raise them as if they were his own. So that was a pretty interesting behavior, and it was nice because that gave the puppies a greater chance of being successful and growing up. And then the second film that we have here, if you could show this, just really shows how much these animals love each other. I mean, they really, really do love each other. They're a family. You can see how happy they are to be with each other. Just a few more characteristics that we look at. Here's another. This is a very young Maine Coyote. Notice how round his ears are, and he has a much more dog-like. A lot of these animals do have a small percentage of dogs, and I look at this guy and I can see the dog in him. He's very beautiful. Next, please. These two animals, the one closer, the red one, that is actually Tatters, the first group that we looked at. This is one of the offspring of that pack. It's a female offspring, and that has her mate Grumpy. And she has a Foxy is her name. She has a very red coat, which is very unusual. Next, please. All right, so now I'm just going to really quickly go over, if you're interested in doing this kind of work yourself, on just some basic things for setting up your trail cameras. So go ahead and go on. So first off, what's really important is you need to make sure that you have permission from the landowner to post any type of camera on their property. Next. Second, prepare for the worst. Make sure you have all your gear for your cameras. You need your cameras, you need spare cameras, you need discs, you need batteries, you need some sort of GPS device so that you can mark where you put your cameras, but you also need to be prepared for flat tires and trees landing on your cars and getting stranded and having the tracks on your track vehicle fall off. You need to be prepared for all of that because it's happened to me. So it's best to have everything that you think you're going to need in case you have to spend the night. Next, please. When picking a location, remote is good. There's less likely going to be any conflict with people. you're more likely to get daytime pictures, and you're more likely to get natural behaviors the more remote your camera site is. When placing your camera, you might want to look for signs of wildlife, animal tracks, scat, markings on trees, and game trails. And lastly, if you're posting in the winter, make sure you put your camera up high, because if you don't, you're not going to get anything but the white stuff. If you'd like to see more photos or videos, please visit Maine Howl's website or Eastern Coyote Research. We do have a new book that's come out just recently, and you can download it for free at Eastern Coyote Research. And if you like, you could always leave a donation. And you can also check out my YouTube channel, which is Northwoods Wildlife Explorer. And last, I want to leave you with one little video of a family of Maine coyotes in the Western Mountains. Thank you all.
I think you said goodbye. So just to kind of close up, I think kind of where we are as an organization, we're in the process kind of just taking another look at ourselves, figure out what learnings we have from the field, how do we do better, how do we be more efficient. And then also as an organization, we're trying to figure out where we go from here. We are definitely interested in upping our game. We're talking potentially about becoming a 501c3 so we can go out and look for grants. And we continue to look for relationships with researchers. All of this data is fantastic, and we've done some analysis with it. But what we really would like to do is have somebody, really move it forward. And so, we continue to have conversations potentially with academic organizations to look for folks that are ready to do some research, and we got some ready-made data for them. And then finally, partnerships with other groups. We have a great partnership with Jerry's organization. We also have a nice partnership with Cry Wolf out in Yellowstone, and so we want this data to be out there and really help. So that's pretty much it. Jerry, I guess if we're going to open it up for questions, or Nola, we're happy. Jerry and I are happy to, Jennifer and I are happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much. That was such a wonderful presentation. I'm just in the middle of tuning myself. All right, great. Hopefully everybody can hear me. Thank you so much. I feel like I learned so much, and that was amazing. If anybody has any questions, now would be the time to send them in the chat, or send me a message, or you can raise your hand and we can call on you. But either way, we'd love to just say thank you, and thanks again to everybody who came. Oh, it looks like we have a hand raised. Leah, if you want to unmute yourself, more than welcome to. I think that is you anyway. Okay. All right. Maybe not. Okay. No worries. Yeah. If anybody had any other questions.
Yep, I think Karen Cease has a question.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yep.
I always thought that when they were howling, they were calling the tribe to enjoy a feast, that they had actually killed a prey and were inviting the family to the table. But that is not true, is it? It's just when they howl, they are communicating to connect and socialize. Is that true?
well, I'll let Jennifer speak, but just quickly, we've not ever seen a video or had an experience where they were howling over prey, but as you heard some of those recordings, some of them we don't know exactly what's going on. But I think certainly for our experience, we don't have any evidence of that. Would you want to add to that, Jennifer?
I mean, from what I've seen, a lot of from the recordings that we've seen, and also the video recordings, it seems like they use howls to sort of locate where each other are.
Yeah.
I think it's a way of trying to identify. So where are you? I'm here. Where are you? And sometimes it could be a call for them to come, but I don't know if it's a call to come and get something to eat, or if it's a call because I need you, or it's a call because one of the pups is missing. I don't know. But they definitely are communicating with each other, and they definitely are trying to let other members of their pack know where they are.
Okay, thank you very much.
And I also see Denise Oliver, you have your hand raised?
Yes. Can you guys hear me all right?
Mm-hmm. I can hear you.
Yeah. So I'm in York County, and I volunteer with a land trust since 2017, and we have 3 or 4 game cameras that we have maintained, and we have lots of footage of wildlife, including coyotes. Not many I don't think any of them have sound. They might, but the video footage is pretty impressive. And I don't know if that's something that you guys are interested in looking at.
Jennifer, you want to speak to that?
Yeah, I'm sure that we'd be interested. If you could upload it to like a Google folder and share it, that would be fantastic.
I just saw a question that popped up that asked if we have spoken to the Rue Institute. I actually have, but not in the context of this. We most of the efforts that we have made in terms of researchers have been more around universities that do research in Canis specifically. But there's the Rue Institute that's doing some interesting things, and also there's another organization which is escaping me at the moment here in the state that's done a lot of loon studies and so forth. So there are definitely opportunities. I think one of the reasons that we want to grow as an organization is, also to put ourselves into a position of being a nonprofit, so that we can kind of work directly with some of the other organizations.
That makes so much sense. Thank you. Yeah, and we have a couple questions in the chat. One of them is from Tree Lisa Harmon. Are coyotes living everywhere in Maine? And she asks specifically, are they in Harpswell?
Yes, they are absolutely everywhere in Maine, and we get reports all over the place. So we don't have anything specific for Harpswell, but can assure you that they're there.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
The story that I told at the beginning. I mean, we now have one of our volunteers who lives out in an island in Penn Bay. And the coyotes literally swim across and go, and they're working a couple of different islands, and the fishermen are seeing them all the time. So they're everywhere there's prey. Wow,
so impressive. My goodness, yeah. Wow, thank you. Next question. Catherine Wheeler asked, have you noticed different dialects, around the state?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I would say we probably don't have enough sophistication to be able to know that.
Right.
We're kind of in this early stage of just really trying to understand exactly what they're saying. What we do hear are definitely different vocalizations by different packs. some packs seem to want to talk as a group. Others are more solo howlers, and so I think I would say we hear that. Whether or not there are other vocalizations, it's kind of I couldn't really say for sure.
That's so cool. Jennifer, did you have anything to add?
No.
Okay. Yeah, great. That's so cool, but also just tells you so much too, even just that about like how many there are and, all of that. That's so interesting.
If anybody's interested in that sort of thing too, definitely check out the Cry Wolf website. They have some data there, but Jeff Reed, who's the PhD linguist who's studying them, they have, can't remember now. I want to say there's something like 10 ARUs going, and in the Yellowstone Park, and they're actually following the packs and listening and trying to study. So as they decode what they're saying to each other, there's this incredible in-depth study going on for individual packs. So lots of really good things there. They're definitely going to learn a lot about wolves, what Canis is saying to each other.
That's so cool. That's awesome. Sandy asked, actually from Almanville, hi, have you published in any peer-reviewed journals?
You want to answer that, Jennifer?
So we just put out a book. It's more of a, I don't know how to describe it. It talks about the different packs that we're seeing and sort of like their life story. And it's in pictures, but nothing that we've had, and it just came out, I'd say maybe a month ago. So nothing that we have published at this point has been peer reviewed. At this point, we're a group of volunteers spending our free time gathering information hopefully with the idea of this, maybe moving on into more of an academic world. But at this point, no.
Yeah, and by the way, what was the title of that book that you guys just said you published?
It's A Wild Canis of Maine.
Wild Canis of Maine. Awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, but it's awesome that you guys you've done so much already just being volunteers. And writing a book is not an easy thing to do, so that's amazing. What's next here? Spence Smith asked, are there known eastern wolves nearby? Can you conclusively say that there are no eastern wolves or Algonquin wolves that are affecting the population of coyotes? Or what do you guys know about what's happening there?
Well, that's a topic that has a lot of energy around it. We don't know, and that's part of the rationale for the DNA study. You saw some of the animals that we're seeing. 64 centimeters is kind of the lowest height of an eastern wolf. It's the shortest female eastern wolf, if you will. And we are seeing animals that are 64 centimeters or taller, slightly taller. So, there's definitely some big animals here, but what we don't know is, is it because some male eastern wolf has wandered over from Algonquin to the state of Maine? We really don't know. And in talking to the researchers at MTU, we know that there's an admixture of wolves and western coyotes and domestic dogs and all of these animals. And so what we don't know is are the genetics such that these animals are changing because of the environment here, or there are eastern wolves coming in? We really just don't know. And so that's part of what we want to gather this information and really find out.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. Yeah, that's really helpful. Thank you. And I think you answered the question about the Rue Institute in Portland.
Yep.
Okay, yes. And then another question from Sandy. We have a camp in the Moosehead Lake area and pretty regularly see and hear coyotes and find scat. Are you thinking of doing any research there in the Moosehead Lake area?
Well, interesting that you asked that question. Yes, absolutely. In fact, I saw a person's name pop up that we're talking to tomorrow about getting another volunteer for the Moosehead area. So I have historically found some interesting scat there that has yet to be tested. It was rather spectacularly large, and so we know that there's some interesting animals there, but we have not spent a lot of time in the Moosehead area, other for research. But hopefully, we'll have a volunteer in that area soon.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great. Oh, and sorry, Karen, I saw that your hand you've been up for a little while now. What was your question?
My question is talking about a keystone species for balancing our environment of animals here, whether it be deer or rabbit or whatever. So maybe you could speak to a little bit about how that balance is so critical to how we survive and interact with our animals and how important they are to us in that way.
Well,
Jennifer,
I mean, every ecosystem has sort of like it has a food chain, and it's important that that food chain be maintained so that we keep a healthy population of animals that can get what they need to survive. If you have too many grazers, they're going to overgraze, and then they're going to starve. If you have too many predators, then they're going to overkill the grazers, and then they're going to starve. So there's a balance that every animal plays in an ecosystem, in every ecosystem. And it's important that all those animals be present in order for that ecosystem to stay healthy. If you have too many of one, that's just going to throw the whole system out of whack. And then all the animals are going to suffer.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Thank you for that question. And I think, let me see if there are any other questions in the chat. Some people have already shared just their appreciation. Lisa Hormone saying that that they're indeed in Harpswell and that he's heard them in Bath before, and that's great. Awesome. Yeah. Thank you guys so much for sharing. Were there any other questions or comments or anything else that anybody want to share? Not seeing anything. Awesome. Okay.
Whoop, I think Karen just raised her hand.
Oh.
I am just taking up way too much of your time. But
No
I just wanted to thank you for this. It's just so beautiful that you're studying this. And I hope we can protect them and learn to love them and live with them. I think it's very, very lovely and important. So thank you for the presentation.
But thank you for the kind words, Karen. Yeah, we're pretty excited about what's going on there in the woods. So
Yeah, thank you.
So it's about 7:45. So it has been such a pleasure having you present here. There is such a need, and our Maine people want to know who their neighbors are, and more of them want to know. We'll never ever really know everything about coyotes. They have their own secrets, but we have enough to know that we can be good neighbors to them and have them have a quality of life, which, as Jennifer just said, we need them to keep the whole system that we live in balance. So when we take good care of them, they take good care of us. It's the way it works. And so more knowledge, and I honor each one of you who have come here tonight and stayed here this whole time and asked questions, because this is how we move forward as human beings living upon the planet with others. And Coyote Center, myself as a biologist, I am always wanted to have research be part of my work. And so I'm so thrilled to have these amazing partners be a part of it and to watch this grow and support it. So I think it's all time to go. And I look forward to another get together that we may have, Jim and Jennifer. It's such a pleasure. Such a pleasure. I'm honored.
So thank you. Thank you so much for having us. And
Yeah,
thank you everybody for coming.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Good
Bye-bye.
night.
Thanks,
Have a nice evening.
everyone.